absolutely blindingly good. That last section was fucking stonking.
It's Monday the 4th of June 2001, and on the floor of Boston's Fleet Centre Arena, U2's road crew and Dream Chasers film crew are preparing to stage and shoot the 40th concert on U2's Elevation tour. With two crews working one floor, the potential for chaos is great, but you should know that it would be organised chaos. There are a few other things you should also know. First up, music was never meant to be played in these places. They've been built to accommodate very different types of activities, basketball and ice hockey. They're built to be very full and very loud and empty. They're really pretty soulless. The Fleet Centre is the new home of the Boston Celtics basketball team. Boston Garden, the Celtics' former home, was a grand old place, cramped and wooden, intimate and intimidating, steeped in tradition and nostalgia. It was knocked down several years ago, as is the American way. So there's the first challenge. U2's road crew faced the task of converting this palace of concrete and steel into a concert hall in a day. Next up, concert venues and film sets are fundamentally very different places. Legend would have it that there's nothing can screw up a concert quite so quickly and so thoroughly as a good film shoot. Film crew and road crew are natural enemies. This isn't to say that a cameraman can't be friends with a roadie, it's just that neither family would really approve. The reasons for the bad feeling can be boiled down to the fact that the appearance of a film crew generally means that things are about to be changed. And when you've less than a day to convert a basketball hall into a concert venue, then change is never really your friend. One example of this change is affecting the amount of punters, as the paying public are affectionately referred to, allowed on the floor during the concert. For the first time in a long time, the tickets for the floor in these American shows are general admission, standing tickets. This was not an easy concession to negotiate, and as hard as it was to get the safety officers to agree to standing room when the floor was empty of equipment, the arrival of several dozen yards of camera track and safety barrier has caused consternation.
You have to put one significantly shorter.
As we speak, the numbers allowed on the floor is to be limited to 1,100, or approximately half the usual number for a venue of this size. Apart from looking horrible on camera, this could have an adverse effect on the band, who might feel they're playing to an empty room. None of this is good. On a brighter note, Al Gurdon, the director of photography, has brought in an awful lot of extra lights, so at least there'll be no problem seeing the half-empty floor. Negotiations will continue right up to showtime. Time to introduce a few of the principal characters. Jake Berry and Steve Ardale are the producers of U2's Elevation 2001 World Tour. It's their responsibility to keep this show on the road. Under their supervision, the show is put up, performed, torn down, packed away, and sent on to the next town, where it all happens again. Jake and Steve are vastly experienced at this type of thing, between them having produced shows for just about everybody. And it's their carefully structured world that the film crew are about to change. Ned O'Hanlon is the producer of the film. It's his job to make sure that this sellout show is captured to the satisfaction of his clients, U2. Like Jake and Steve, Ned has experienced a burn at this level and with this client, and this experience tells him that they can be quite demanding.
You know, to shoot it is you come in and you stick the cameras around the place and you shoot what's going on within the space. And what you get from that is something that is neither one thing nor the other. It's not a show that works well on television because it's not structured that way, and it's not in any way representative of the live event because you can't do that on television. The whole clue about the show is in the lighting, and in order to capture the show, what we have had to do is on the night, for the people in the house, the show probably will look very different if they've seen the show before, and indeed for the band it will feel different. But the end product on TV and on video or whatever, in theory, should be the same as being here in the house.
Simple, really. Over the course of the next few days, Ned has a delicate balancing act to perform. He must keep the band happy, he must keep Jake and Steve happy, and he must keep the new kid on this particular block, director Hamish Hamilton, safe and happy. Hamish Hamilton is the director of this little 20-camera project. He's a bit nervous about it all, not because there's any doubt about his talent and ability, but rather because he's forgotten his lucky shirt. What he hasn't forgotten is that the route to a rock star's heart is to make him look great, and great in this context means tall and skinny. The mythical tall, skinny lens is to top directors what sincerity is to top actors. If you can fake it, you've got it made.
I did a show in the UK called The Brits. It's the Brit Awards. I guess it's like the Grammys or something. And they got the Lifetime Achievement Award.
It's U2!
They did like 3 numbers at the end of the show, and I was kind of really shitting myself, actually, because they're the biggest band in the world, and I kind of had a bit of a moment, actually. I kind of, they came on, they did Beautiful Day, End of the World, and won, and during one I had this kind of tear, I was like, I can't believe I'm doing U2 on the Brit Awards. And so we kind of edited the show, quick turnaround a day after, 10 o'clock in the evening, the show had finished, and my phone rings. I'm like, oh God, it's probably my dad or somebody. And there's this Irish voice at the end of the phone. And I'm going, hello, hello. And he went, it's Bono. And I was like, yeah, right. And he went, no, it's Bono. And he was just he was saying, he said, you made television look like cinema. You're a genius. And I was like, oh my God, I was blushing.
His cinematic approach to award shows brought Hamish firmly into the band's sights. His card marked, he was called to the dance floor to further apply his genius to shooting the Boston shows.
We'll get that tonight, thank you.
So now when the phone rings, it probably is his dad. When the band want to chat, they just walk over and chat.
They're all incredibly intellectual, which is actually quite intimidating, because I'm actually not intellectual. I don't kind of think, well, I'm going to remake Raging Bull when I'm doing this. It's purely kind of instinctive. When you kind of come up against somebody like Bono or Edge or Larry and Adam, they're kind of, they'll use all sorts of references, which quite often I don't understand those references, And when Bono spoke to me after the Brits, he was talking about, the song "The End of the World" being written from the perspective of Judas, and Judas going for a walk amongst the pie and the mash and the fish and the chips, and I was kind of like, it was really, really strange experience.
And about to get stranger. The grand plan for Boston is to shoot 2 shows. The first is a dress rehearsal for the second, which is the designated film event. Ned, Hamish and Al have seen the show live several times. Based on their observations, camera positions have been plotted out and extra lights have been ordered in. Tonight will be the first time that everything will be turned on and pointed at the stage. Tomorrow night, the theory goes, armed with the lessons learned from the first show, the cameras will all be tweaked around and the second show will be captured in all its majesty. Easy.
Yeah. It's just the way that it's lit, it's in terms of spot configurations, I think I'm going to be too flat for a moment.
Key word in all this, lights. Lights are usually at the epicenter of the ongoing music world versus film world police action. It all hinges on the notion that while the film crew is there expressly to capture the event, their very presence means that the event they are there to capture will be different from the event they were commissioned to film. This really annoys road crews a lot. The most obvious sign of this change is in the amount of light needed to film a show, as opposed to the amount of light needed to light a show. And this show, as shows go, is particularly dark.
Dark, yes, but in a good way. As I said to the video engineer today, who was struggling a little bit with the fact we wanted to do certain things with the pictures, and he said, technically for television this isn't the way it's done, and I explained to him, we're making art, we're not trying to pass an exam.
Willie Williams has worked with the band for several hundred years now, starting out as their lighting designer and assuming the role over the last 2 tours, a full-blown show director.
Terribly exciting.
In a nutshell, Willie Williams is responsible for the way all this looks.
And what I'm excited about with this show and with filming this show is that it's almost the complete opposite of Pop Mart. I mean, Pop Mart, when you watch that video, it's like a night out on a space station or something. I mean, it's just this incredible thing, this huge event. And that production loved the camera. In some ways it looks better on TV than it did live. I mean, it was made for it. Whereas this is really quite difficult to film. The TV people that have come in have been scratching their heads a bit as to how best to make it read, because so much of what we're doing is environmental and it uses the whole room.
It should be remembered that it's almost a decade since U2 played a room this small.
thank you for joining us live on the air.
My pleasure.
The start of Zoo TV was the last time the band even went indoors. With the bulk of that tour and all of its successor, Pop Mart, lived in stadiums. Zoo TV was a huge hit right out of the box, but Pop Mart wasn't quite so well received. Indeed, by U2's own exacting standards, Pop Mart was a bit of a lemon. But what a lemon.
The whipping boy is Pop Mart. And so everyone says now, this is a fantastic show, Elevation, it's so amazing. Isn't it great that they've stopped that silly Pop Mart business? You know? Which pisses me off really, because it was an absolutely astonishing show. But you know, it's a small sacrifice to have Pop Mart temporarily become U2's Glass Spider in order to make this great, because this is really great.
With all these camera and light issues going on all over the place, it's easy to forget that the job in hand here is to shoot an actual concert, one where actual music will be played. The pictures are obviously important, it is after all a concert film, but pictures without sound will make it a silent movie. To ensure that this is not so, U2 have called up an old friend and long-time collaborator, producer Steve Lillywhite. Steve will oversee the recording and mixing of the music, and Steve has known the band for even longer than Willie.
Well, actually, the story was that a producer called Martin Hannett did their first single, 11 O'Clock TikTok, and he was going to go and do the album, but in fact Ian Curtis from Joy Division died, and Martin Hannett decided that, who was Joy Division's producer, that he didn't want to produce U2 at that point, so I was their second choice of producer, so I drew the short straw.
The second choice producer stayed to help bring U2's first 3 albums into the world, but as the discerning viewer might have noticed, we're not here to produce an album.
I was actually at Red Rocks and recorded that show, so this for me is like it's a trip down memory lane. I approach it like I approach a record. You know, we have to get the performance right, and that's everything about music for me. It's not really to do with making sure everything is perfectly played. It's the spirit of the music needs to come across.
And that, in a roundabout way, sums up the brief here. All these people are in this place with the express intent of catching this ethereal spirit and putting it in a bottle without damaging it. By any stretch, it's a tall order.
How far seconds are we away from the television?
The countdown to the show is well underway. Hamish, feeling better now that his lucky shirt has turned up, is limbering up before the game. Ned has long since given up on getting a band member to wear a rather cumbersome spy cam and is attempting to balance himself by clever use of walkie-talkies. Al has taken his post on the mix position and is ready to light things. The backline crew are all in position, the cameras are manned, the crowd is in place. There's very little anybody can do at this stage to radically affect the outcome of anything, apart from the band, that is. In many ways, the die is cast.
Oh, we are recording. Stand by. You're lined up behind you.
There is no accounting for how well a show will go. Sometimes things just gel. There's a magic in the air that lifts all concerned to new, previously unscaled heights.
Okay.
And nights like this, everything just works. The music rears up like a giant tsunami and rips the crowd along with it. And nights like this, the band and the audience are as one, communicating on an almost telepathic level. And nights like this, Bono can reach out and the crowd will reach right back. There is trust, there is drama, there is tension, and there is a palpable sense of joyous release.
Come on!
Sorry, just on. Sorry.
By common consent, this is not one of those nights. The crowd are flat, the band seems stifled, it all feels forced. But hey, it's bright.
No, the Bono shot, I got it from the wrong side, that's what I'm saying, lose it. Because he's got like fucking 20 kilowatts of lighting on the side of that side of his face.
I realised it as I was watching it back with the band last night, which is really daunting. You know, you sat there with 4 superstars, and they're all going, "This looks like Disney," and you're going, but the thing is, as well, I'm going, you know what? It fucking does look like Disney. It's not as if they're saying that's crap, and I'm going, "But guys, this is brilliant. This is beautiful. This is art." We're on the same page, totally on the same page. Although the Bono would probably express it slightly better than I would, and I'm just going, "It's fucking." This bit of that 412 sorted, no worries.
No matter how well you prepare for it, there are always going to be surprises. and it is the first time that we've put the cameras in and turned the lights on in anger. So you find things out as you go along on the fly, and you respond to those as quickly as you can, and at the end of it all you sit back and look at it and say, oh my god, or oh my god. So we had a bit of both last night.
I go with the flow, and sometimes have very great difficulty in communicating what I actually like, but I my belief is that I'm kind of making, although I've got like 20 cameras and whatever, I'm making a documentary. They've written the screenplay, which are the songs. They've created this spectacle. So there isn't no real room for another ego to come in and say, guys, you don't want it blue, you want it red. Because they want it blue, you know, and especially when you're dealing with U2, there's blue because that's the mood of the song, you know, and there's a very strong, usually a very strong kind of intellectual reason why it's blue, or lit from one side or whatever.
Don't worry guys, it's only Boston, not a big college town. Turn off half the lights, lose several of the camera angles, and go for it again. Easy. Except of course that now the first night show will never cut into the second night show, and the new lighting designs and the new camera positions can only be tested at soundcheck, and soundcheck will be very late and very brief, because Bono, who's worried about his voice, is making a speech to the graduating class at Harvard.
The only thing worse than a rock star is a rock star with a conscience, a celebrity with a cause. Oh dear, oh dear.
Back at the venue there was also a modicum of pressure coming down from the good folks at NBC, who are going live to this evening's concert during the halftime break in the NBA playoffs.
And it's Boston, have a great time tonight.
So just the 15-odd thousand punters in the venue and another 50 million viewers at home then. To hit the insert at the right moment in the show, at the start of Streets, Steve has worked out that the concert needs to start at 9 o'clock and 30 seconds, roughly. But to make life a little more interesting, the band have decided to change the run-in to the show's start. So, not 9 o'clock and 30 seconds then.
Stop the record. Stand by 13.
Now, if you think that all this is a sort of recipe for disaster, then you'd be right. Except for one thing.
30 seconds.
When things are truly desperate, when there are red things in the night sky and foul odours coming from the sewers, when all the signs and portents are universally bad, if you had to bet on one band that could reach deep and pull one out of the bottom of the bag against all the odds, then this just might be the band to bet on.
Turn your microphones off, please.
In 10.
Yeah, when he comes on, yeah, just get this opening bit.
8.
Okay, squats, that's the beginning of our show. Believe it or not, here we go.
At the end of the day, there's no accounting for how well the show will go.
Stand by. Go.
I love my job. Come on. Intensity and bouncing. Not much from above. Intensity and bouncing. Come on. Good on 11. Good on 12.
3.
One tight Bono. Okay, change of shot. Somebody give me Larry, please. He's there on 7.
The one they pulled from the bottom of the bag was a great one. Half the lights, twice the show.
Rockstar poses.
The audience and the band were as one. There were no red things in the night sky. Hamish's bravery in deliberately not wearing his lucky shirt was rewarded with a fabulous show, and by association, a second lucky shirt. Continuing to renounce all things intellectual, he retired to the bar, a tired, a brilliant, and a happy man.
Now I'm knackered.
For Ned, along with the satisfaction of a job well done, there still remained the prospect of a viewing of the evening's proceedings, but strangely the band seemed reluctant, preferring instead to enjoy the moment. There will be a day of reckoning, but not this day. Musing on this, Ned wisely joined Hamish in hospitality.
We're going to head to Boston, where one of the world's most popular bands, U2, is performing tonight. So right now, let's send you live to their concert at the Fleet Center.
NBC were beside themselves. The timing of the insert could not have been better planned if the inventor of time himself had planned it. A genius decision on the part of the band to change the run-in to the show. 1/4 of all the television sets in America tuned in and stayed tuned in. NBC left the Fleet Center smiling broadly and dispensing basketballs. A palpable hit.
Only time, couple of
salvation. There was a toast to our Father. Follow through on the promise I made to her.
Steve Lillywhite was also well pleased. It had been a good show. There had been a few mistakes, but they were mistakes made with spirit and bravado. They seemed to enjoy their mistakes tonight, was his rather enigmatic judgment. It had come from the heart, the way Steve likes it. Jake and Steve shook themselves down and went about their business. Their world had been changed, briefly, and now it would change back again. There was a tour to finish and a new tour to be planned. There was a stage to be taken down, packed up, and delivered to the next town. Tonight had been a good night, but it was only one night. Europe was just over the horizon, and before that there was the little matter of New York, where the Irish had been going for years. The first leg of the Elevation 2001 World Tour finished in New Jersey on Friday, June 22nd. U2 had played 50 shows to an audience of almost 1 million people. But at the end of the day, the numbers and the amounts and the chart positions meant little beside the fact that U2 had performed one of the greatest feats in their checkered careers. They had won back America.
Dance, 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 dirty way.
For the record, the first show in Madison Square Garden was deemed to be not only the best show on the tour, but also one of U2's best live shows ever, which aptly demonstrates the last thing the casual observer should know about shooting arena shows. You never have the cameras at the right one. Still, we'll always have Boston.